I don't think people really quite understand what it means to be a Texan. I think that there's a very big misconception about Texans. In general, I think we're not unlike everyone else, but Texas is a changing place, right? I mean, there's people coming here from Texas from all over the place, from New York, from LA, from San Francisco, from all over the place. And stereotypes are real. Stereotypes are everywhere. I think there's this idea that us Texans are, all barbecue eaters, and we, are good salt of the earth people. Uh, and for the most part, I think we are. I just think that a lot of times we don't. We're losing the identity of what it means to be a Texan. A Texan is generally somebody who's a pretty quiet, calm person. Uh, I think we've been made out to be these loud people in big cowboy hats and big mouths and everything else, and I don't know, but that's not many of the Texans I ever knew. You know, as I've traveled around all over the place, you always tell people, they say, "Well, where are you from? Are you from the United States or whatever?" And you tell them, "Well, I'm from Texas," and they get this idea that you're from a totally different country. And in some ways, we are, because as much as we're Americans, I think most of us real Texans probably identify as a Texan first and an American second. And I think that politically, uh, a lot of people have been trying to change that philosophy, right? Make us a party or an American first, right? Texans were never that way. And I don't think we were ever meant to be that way. I think we were very independent people, very strong people, very proud people, but we're also people that's been taken advantage of over the past several years. The average Texan can't afford to live here no more. Okay, especially if you live in that triangle, between Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, back to Dallas. That triangle is a very expensive triangle. That's where most of the people that are coming from outside of the state want to live, right? They want to live there. Housing prices have increased massively, right? What used to be affordable for a Texan is no longer affordable for the average Texan. Um, Groceries have gone up, gas prices have gone up. Not everybody here works an oil patch. Not everybody here has just money growing on trees because of oil. Some people actually still struggle. And I think a good majority of people in this state are still that way. Texas schools are something to be debated. I mean, we have this school voucher thing that doesn't really make sense to anybody but a bunch of politicians and, you know, people who run private schools. But it doesn't really make sense at all, really. We have a very wealthy state. We have a nice rainy day fund. Texas should, by all intents and purposes, be a very wealthy place. But then again, it's being managed by people who live in a false reality. And that false reality plays on people's heads a lot. Texas was always kind of the dichotomy of things. I mean, well, this was the place where you could go to the beer joint on Saturday night and go and sit in the Baptist church on Sunday morning. Um, you know, that's just how it is. Uh, I think as far as immigration goes, it wasn't a problem until people went and made it a problem. You know, it wasn't a big issue until national parties and special interests got involved down here in Texas. Then it became an issue, right? So it's things like that. We tend to get drug into the national conversation more than probably we want to be. If you go outside of that triangle, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, back to Dallas. If you go outside of that triangle, Texas is a very different place. A lot of poverty, especially out in the colonias. A lot of poverty, a lot of people living from paycheck to paycheck. Out where I grew up, a lot of what some folks may call white trash. Um, you know, there's definitely a class divide in Texas for sure. Texas is no stranger to politicians trying to take advantage of their people, trying to take advantage of the situation. Uh, Texas is no stranger to bad actors politically. I mean, we have an attorney general that's running for Senate. It's probably only one other Texas politician in the history of Texas politicians has been this corrupt. Maybe two. Probably George Parr or maybe Paul Ferguson, which were two just very strange characters, to say the least. But, this is the kind of corruption that we're seeing within the state. Again, I think we're losing our cultural identity. I think we're losing who we are. I think we're losing what we are. There's this idea that we have to live up to something big, something enormous. I think in general, we're just regular people trying to get by. I mean, you're out there dealing with these political factions and everything else. Most people in Texas couldn't even tell you probably the difference between a liberal and a conservative, except for what they see on Fox News. They're very, um, Texans have been taken advantage of a lot. You look at towns like Corpus Christi that are running low on water, and you look at places like down South Padre that are trying to fix this issue up, uh, decades of mismanagement, decades of local special interest, decades of just being used by groups and people. And I think that at some point that begins to wear on a society. We're not all barbecue eaters, and although I love a good plate of barbecue every once in a while, but it's getting to the point where it just outprices you. You can't you just can't afford it anymore. Most going out to eat, sometimes that's pretty expensive. If you look at the average salaries in Texas versus what it costs to live here, it's unreal. It's unreal. Um, Texas is a place that often gets looked at as larger than life, and there's a reason for that because we are larger than life. But Texas is also a place where a societal misfit can come and be somebody, and he could be governor of the state, or he could be attorney general, or he could be a senator, or whatever. If you fail out of life and nobody else trusts you, come to Texas. And to some extent, that creates this culture of mistrust within the state amongst the people. Uh, Texas is a beautiful place. People always tell me, they said, "Well, you hate Texas." I don't hate Texas. I hate what Texas has become. And it's not because of the Muslims. It's not because of the Democrats or the transsexual lobby or whatever. It's because of the politicians in general. If they would adapt a more truly Texas first identity and not just a special interest identity, Texas would be a lot stronger and a lot better. I mean, we're MAGA down here for sure. Um, but I guess we probably really think it's probably better than the alternative, right? For the most part. Not because we so much believe that MAGA is MAGA and it's great and it's going to save us, because we don't. I think deep down we know that MAGA is going to sell us out eventually, like everybody else does, and it's going to leave you high and dry.